Welcome to the final upload that celebrates the 1 year anniversary of Nike's Stuff, episode 19 Trauma. This here is the commentary for the episode. Earlier today, I published bloopers and behind the scenes, so if you want to check those out, you can check them out with the card in the top right corner. And yeah, enjoy the commentary for Nike's Stuff, episode 19 Trauma. Hi everyone, I am Karsten Keller. I am the writer, director, cinematographer, editor, and main star of Trauma, Nike's Stuff episode 19, and this is the commentary for it. So, first off, I just need to start right here, the beginning, because I'm going to forget about it. The beginning goes by quickly, but this whole project started with the idea of me being on the roof and throwing the game off the roof. So, in like August, September of 2021, my dad was getting on the roof quite often and he needed to be there to, make sure nothing bad happens and help hold the ladder and stuff like that. And that just kind of shifted into the idea of, like, what if for a video I was on the roof and I threw something off, like a game or something? I thought that would be, pretty fun, pretty goofy. And so that was the first idea. And so I wanted to do that, so I brought up the idea to my dad, and at first he was against it, because I wanted to go all the way to the top of the roof, but eventually we compromised that I would only go above the front porch, which I was a little bummed about at first, but after actually going up there, I'm actually kind of glad I only went up to the front porch. It may not look like it, but I was kind of, like, stressed out the whole time. It was not the most fun experience in the world. Getting down was a bit of a pain, but overall, I'm so glad it happened because the shot turned out pretty well, as well as those earlier episodes of Nike's Stuff can turn out. But yeah, there are a couple of other pains. So first off, my biggest issue, or my biggest concern, was audio. So I was gonna be on the roof, and my dad was gonna be in the yard holding the camera. And the problem is, you'd maybe be able to hear me on the camera, but not loud enough for it to be, like, good. So instead, what I did was I got my phone, which I used to record all my audio. Unfortunately, I'm still doing that. But I got my phone. I got a pair of wired earbuds with a headphone on them, and I brought it up with me. I hid the phone in my pocket. I slid the earbuds up my shirt to keep them out of sight, and I recorded the audio on my phone as I said my things on the roof. I had it recording on my phone, and then in post, I was able to line up the waveforms, and it sounds, pretty seamless. So so that turned out well, and we're already a couple minutes into the video, and we're not even on the roof anymore, or in the opening. So I've kind of, I need to figure out. So after the roof, I throw the game off the roof, which is pretty cool. And then I go run it over with the lawnmower. I like that joke, but I don't really like how I had, like, the whole, oh, I need to gas up the mower. Like, no, that was, unnecessary fluff. One day I do want to make a definitive edition of this that's just, like, better, with just, less fluff and stuff like that. And that's, like, one of the things I need to cut out. But, besides that, I mean, I think cinematography is okay, and it's nothing, like, amazing, but I think it's kind of fun. And then the opening credits, the music is atrocious, and that was the point. It was supposed to be, Bob-omb Battlefield, the song that I use at the end of every episode of Nike's Stuff, but I, like, I put multiple layers of it in Audacity, and I delayed them so they just sounded offbeat. That was the point, to just make it sound like garbage, and it sounds like garbage, and I kind of wish I did, a little bit better, but, whatever happened. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the opening. We are about 4 minutes into the video, but yeah, so besides that, this was also the first episode of Gaming on the Go, which was an idea that I came up with pretty early on in 2021. I think it was late January 2021. I wanted to do Gaming on the Go with the PSP Star Wars Battlefront games. And I remember I wrote the video and I recorded it, but I just never edited it and published it. And I just got more ideas of, like, oh, over the summer, summer, got the theme of vacation, going places, gotta have portable video games, so let's do Gaming on the Go then. No, I didn't do that. And I just kind of realized, I kind of realized, oh, with Trauma, I'm talking about Lego Marvel Superheroes on DS. Let's go ahead and just try to start getting on the go here. And thankfully, I started it, and there's been a couple episodes focused on gaming on the go. I got one coming up pretty soon, and I got a couple planned for next year. So, that works out pretty well, but yeah, this was finally gaming on the go debut. Um, and there's that. And so, what else is there? The original concept of the video. So, since the beginning, I wanted to do a video on Lego Marvel Superheroes. I remember, like, the first I can remember thinking about it is when I was finishing up the Link's Awakening video. That was, like, episode 6. I remember just thinking, okay, what are some other games I can talk about? And, one of them was Lego Marvel Superheroes on DS, and I could talk about, how bad it was. And I wanted to make that, like, a big episode. It's in, like, a later, like, episode 50 or 100, those kind of milestone episodes. And that was originally the plan, but then I don't remember when, but it was probably actually around late September, early October, or no, it started in September when I saw that Lego Marvel Superheroes was coming to the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch port was happening, and I thought, hey, next month's Halloween, I'd probably want to do some kind of Halloween special, and I think Lego Marvel Superheroes is a pretty bad game, and I feel like, oh, a bad game, that scary Halloween, goes kind of hand in hand. So that was the excuse. Honestly, looking back, this episode does not feel like a Halloween episode besides the first line where it's like, Halloween season is upon us and fear is everywhere. That's the most this Halloween thing gets. So really, Halloween was just an excuse to make an episode about this game. But I'm glad I did, because, even though this is early Nexus stuff, this is not that great. There's still a part of me that likes this episode. And, like, the big thing is that this was the first Nexus stuff episode that was, like, a big investment. There was a lot of time that went into this, a lot of work. There was a lot of editing, a lot of live action stuff. It was a very different type of Nexus stuff. Before this, Nexus stuff was just simple talking about JPEGs and stuff like that. It was something that I'd usually make in about a day. I'd write it in the morning, I'd film and edit around noon, and then I'd film around noon and then edit in the afternoon. And so, they were just simple side videos, but Trauma was when I was like, okay, this is kind of sort of the main thing. I mean, since then, a lot of episodes I do edit in one sitting just because I like, just doing it one sitting, getting it out of the way. I like finishing episodes, but like, the big thing is just, like, effort. There was a lot of time spent writing this, working on it, live action stuff. The ending was completely reworked, and I'll talk about that when I get to that. But yeah, back to the original idea. Yeah, I just, I was like, oh, it's Halloween season, and the thing that cemented it was, for years, like what I say in the video about how I was stuck on the last gold bricks for years, that was actually true. I got most of the gold bricks in, like, early fall 2014, but I got stuck on those last two, and just for years, I could not beat them. I remember I went through a phase with this game in 2017, but I still didn't beat them then. But it was, like late September last year that I finally got those last two gold bricks. And so with me 100%ing the game and the Switch port coming out, I thought to myself, this is the perfect time to talk about the game. And yeah, I talk about the game. So yeah, I know there's other things to talk about before we get to the ending, but the Gangnam Style, yeah, these are just like a bunch of, I would pop this game in occasionally and just think to myself all of the bad things in this game. And actually, thinking back to it, in like spring of 2018, I made I at least filmed a video about the DS port, and it was basically just talking about how bad it was. I've had it out for this game for years. And at the end, I actually made it seem like I destroyed the game by smashing it with a hammer, even though it was really a Cars on DS cartridge. But yeah, I actually made a video on it back in 2018, but I never edited it and I never published it. But, you know, this was kind of like the full realization of that, you know, finally complaining about this game. And thankfully, I mean, ever since I published this video, I've never really had the care to go back to those games. And it's the same for like Attack of the Clones on Game Boy Advance. That was a game that I played constantly in 2020 just because I could imagine all the things I could say if I was to make a video on it. But since I made the video, you know, I haven't played it in so long, probably since that first video, you know, basically 2 years ago. So, you know, it's really nice these videos can kind of get those complaints off the chest, because I mean they were just kind of building up in there for years. And I don't know, I guess just actually criticizing the game was really helpful, because it just kind of, I got it all out, and now I just don't really think about the games anymore. You know, I've said my thing about them, and so why should I care anymore? I like this part, little commercial. I think I could have edited it better. Thing is, when I was working on this, I was still using Windows Movie Maker. I was still using Windows Movie Maker up until like a month ago. It's not been very long since I started using Final Cut Pro, but yeah, that's one of the things I'd like to do in a definitive edition. Make this more like an official commercial, because I think the idea of showing what a commercial for this game would be like is, you know, really fun, but it just could have been done better. Yeah. There's Dwayne in the background. He's a little goofster. I really like having in the background. And then we talk about the 3DS demo. Yeah, it's it's pretty much the same game, just a little bit better looking. Uh, you know, the worst part about commentaries is that eventually you get to a point where it's just like, what else can I say? And here we talk about the Switch version. Actually, I think one fun thing to mention is that when I held up the Switch, it was the first time I turned the thing on in like almost a week, and the battery was at like 3%, so I had to rush to film the scenes before it died. And I also remember this was, I remember I was planning on filming it over the weekend, like on Saturday or Sunday, but then I was going to get my hair cut on Saturday, so I was just like, okay, I've already shot the opening with this hair. I need to shoot everything else before I get the haircut. And thinking about it, the kind of post, or like towards the ending, I think that was shot after I got the haircut. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure, I don't entirely remember. But, you know, it's not really that noticeable. But yeah, there's me explaining some of the rules for gaming on the go. I'm not really afraid to break those rules because it's my series. No one cares. But yeah, Lego Marvel Super Heroes on the Switch. I think it's kind of funny. When I first got it, I played through pretty much the whole campaign in like 2 weeks. I was pretty into it, but then I just kind of fell off. After I made this video, I really got back into Odyssey, and I kind of just played that until I 100%ed the game in December, which is actually kind of funny that I started playing Odyssey right after this was done, because guess what happened right after I finished this one? I got the idea to make a world without Super Mario Odyssey, which at the time we're recording this commentary is actually not done yet. I just got done editing it for tonight. I was just like, oh, I'm kind of done tonight. I'm going to throw together all of the behind-the-scenes stuff for Trauma, because this weekend, on October 30th, Trauma's anniversary, I will not be home. I'm going to be at a, like, video filmmaking contest. It's for school, but I'm not going to be home until very late that day. I'm not going to have any time. And that includes for this week. This week is going to be a massive headache. And frankly, I can't wait for when this video comes out, because that's going to signify that that whole headache of a week is going to be over. But yeah, I'm recording this early, and World Without Super Mario Odyssey, I got the idea for that not long after finishing this. And it's just weird to think that, you know, it's almost out at the time this comes out, it will be out. Uh, and then here we have the making of the certificates, which, you know, I think it's a fun concept. Like, oh, the game's so bad, you gotta act like, you know, you gotta celebrate like it's a award. Like, good job, you played through the whole game. You want a trophy, you want a certificate. This is kind of the joke, but like the opening, it just kind of drags out a bit. Like I remember not long after it came out, my dad was like, "This is just like a how-to video," and at first I was kind of defensive of it, but now I kind of realize, yeah, it kind of drags on. It's not that great. Again, if I was to make a definitive edition, not if, when I make a definitive edition, this will be one of the things that's cut down, because like really, like, I mean, me pushing down the little pegs to hold the back in place um is not necessary at all. And the funny thing is, actually, I think it was during the production of no, not during the production of Trauma. um I don't remember what it was, but there was something. No, actually, it was during the production of Trauma. I filmed all the certificate stuff before I filmed the actual standing and talking about the game stuff. And so, just for continuity, I took down the frame and I had it on the floor. And I remember I stepped on it, shattering the frame. So, that's why it wasn't in the following episodes. And that's why in, what's it called? Redemption, it broke at the beginning. I kind of just wrote it into the story. And then here we have the conflict. This was the original climax. The game basically attacked me. That fake blood is ketchup. Hitting it with a hammer, very classic. I printed out a box art for it. It was actually really tricky because I could not get a clear. I think the back is the like European or the PAL version, so you can see it has like the PEGI rating. And then the side, I could not get a clear picture of the side, so it's a little warped. It's a little hard to see, but it's a little warped. But yeah, throw it out the window. That was another original concept. That was a kind of tricky thing to film. I had to take the bug cover off my window and put it in my room. You can see it in the background. And then my dad stood in the yard as I threw out the game. But it turned out good. I'm happy with how it turned out. Then here we have the original ending. I look at the camera a bit too much. I don't like that. But this here, when he says, "Man, what an asshole," that was the original ending. And that's why Bob-omb Battlefield, you know, reaches its climax like that. But then I decided, oh, what if I was to add an additional, you know, couple of minutes to the video? And so I had the Bob-omb Battlefield kind of sound like it broke thing. So yeah, now he attacks me. And all of this was keyframing, which is something that I did at school because we had access to Final Cut Pro. And I don't really remember what the original idea was, why I wanted to do it in the first place, but I thought it'd be really awesome to have the Xbox 360 and the Nintendo Switch version fight the DS version, because I mean it's kind of metaphorical, or no, not it kind of, it just straight up is metaphorical for how for years, you know, I had the crappy Lego Marvel Superheroes version, but then comes the Xbox 360 version, which, you know, whoops its ass by actually being a great, you know, by being Lego Marvel Superheroes and actually good, and the Nintendo Switch version bringing that Xbox 360 version portably, or yeah, making it portable. So yeah, originally the fight was only supposed to be in the house, but then I decided to bring it up to the sky just because. Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with the keyframing here. It was like 2 weeks of keyframing during class, so it was like 40-minute class periods, about 2 weeks of it, so quite a while spent keyframing. Then they went to, you know, the Earth's atmosphere. And I gotta say, like, for early keyframing, I'm actually pretty impressed, like, a year later. It's just, like, it's weird to think that, like, I don't want to say, like, I was amazing at it, but it was this decent at the beginning. Then we go to Jupiter, which they reached Jupiter in record times. Trust me, that will be important in the future. But, yeah, so with this and my future endeavors in keyframing, which I'm still doing to this very day, I've dubbed myself Keyframing Jesus, because I can keyframe Yeah, that's kind of it. I can keyframe, but I just like it. Just looks pretty good. I don't know. I think it still looks pretty good. I think it looks pretty cool, or I think it still looks pretty decent. He gets hit in the ground. And this here, Dwayne just comes in to fight. I think this looks pretty good. You can see it in the behind the scenes video, but I used tape to pull it apart, and then just keyframing to make it look like the Switch version opened him. And then Dwayne Laser Eyes. I'm still not entirely sure why, but it's pretty dumb, but it's pretty fun. And then being cut in half and falling down, that was also in the behind the scenes video, and that was also in the behind the scenes video. I had to that was in reverse, and I had to pull the game down. So yeah, it started with it kind of sitting normally, and then I had to pull it apart and have it fall the way that it was after Dwayne cut it, and it was a bitch to do. That was difficult, but in the end, it looks pretty good. And yeah, so this is just the ending. I think it does look like my hair's a bit shorter here. And then there's the ending. Throw it in the trash can, which was a joke from episode 15. And after that, I would reuse the joke a few too many times, which I kind of regret. But yeah, that's Trauma. These are the pretty obnoxious credits. I like that. I like how it has me getting hit in the face and then it freezes at that. That's pretty fun. But yeah, that's I think it's kind of funny where it's just I did everything besides my dad, who did a little behind the scenes stuff. Except for Dwayne The Rock Johnson, which technically did voice him. I use a soundbite from his original his commercials for the original Xbox. He was like, "Do your part, go get the console. The Xbox is going to be fantastic." So I used that. That was just meant to be a little goofy thing, but yeah. Besides that, this was all me, and this was a lot of work. And I just have to say, 1 year later, I could have done better.